Have you ever woken up from a dream that was just so weird you couldn't even begin to explain it? One minute you're flying over your childhood home, the next you're having a deep chat with your cat about, I don't know, tax law. We've all been there. These strange, vivid, and sometimes really emotional experiences happen every single night. They're a universal part of being human, but for literally centuries, they've also been one of our deepest mysteries.
So let's just ask it straight up. Why do we dream? Why do our brains cook up these incredibly detailed movies while we're asleep? Is it all just random nonsense? A side effect of our brain cells firing off? Or is there something much, much deeper going on in the theater of our minds? Well, modern neuroscience is finally starting to pull back the curtain, and what it's revealing is absolutely fascinating.
So in this explainer, we're going to go on a little journey from ancient mystery all the way to modern science. We'll touch on some of the old school ideas, then we'll peek inside the dreaming brain to see what's actually firing up. We'll dig into the leading theory that dreams are a kind of overnight therapy, see what happens when that system goes haywire, and finally, look at some mind-blowing ways we might be able to take control of our own dreams.
To really appreciate where we are now, I think we have to look back at where we've been. This question, why do we dream, it's not new. Philosophers, thinkers, scientists, they've been trying to crack this code for a very, very long time.
For a long time, there were really two major camps. On one side, you had Sigmund Freud. He famously argued that dreams are basically a secret window into our unconscious mind, a place where our deepest, often forbidden desires get to come out and play, but in disguise. Then, fast forward to the 1970s, and you get the activation synthesis theory. This idea was totally different. It suggested dreams are just the brain trying to stitch together a coherent story from totally random electrical signals that are firing up from the brainstem during REM sleep. Basically, just trying to make sense of noise. Now, both of these ideas were huge, but they kind of left a lot of questions on the table.
So, to get a better answer, scientists decided to flip the script. Instead of just asking why, they started asking what. Like, what is our brain physically doing when we dream? Because by mapping out the neural hardware, you can get some incredible clues about its real purpose.
First up, the amygdala. You can think of this as your brain's emotion engine. It's responsible for processing really potent feelings like fear, anxiety, and even pleasure. And during REM sleep, which is where our most vivid dreams happen, brain scans show the amygdala lights up like a Christmas tree. Sometimes it's even more active than when we're awake. This totally explains why our dreams can feel so incredibly emotional and intense.
Now, working hand in glove with the amygdala is the hippocampus. This is your brain's memory librarian. It's in charge of filing away new experiences and pulling up old ones. And guess what? During REM sleep, the hippocampus is also buzzing with activity, replaying and sorting through memories from your day. So you've got the emotion center and the memory center online and basically having a big conversation. But here's the kicker. This is the crucial twist. While all this emotional and memory activity is in overdrive, a really important part of your brain decides to take a nap, the dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex. This is the logical, rational CEO part of your brain that keeps you grounded in reality. The moment that goes offline, well, the bizarre, illogical, time-bending weirdness of our dreams suddenly makes perfect sense, doesn't it? So if you put it all together, you get this really unique brain state during REM sleep. It's hyper-emotional, it's hyper-associative, and your motor cortex is active too, which is why it feels like you're actually running or flying in your dreams. But at the exact same time, your capacity for logic, for reason, and for self-awareness is turned way, way down. This special neurochemical cocktail creates the perfect environment for a very specific and very important job. And this brings us to the leading modern theory of why we dream. It's not about secret wishes, and it's not just about random noise. The idea is that dreaming is a form of overnight therapy. It's a biological mechanism for processing our day and regulating our emotions. This quote from a 2017 study just nails it. The whole point of dreaming is to revisit emotional experiences, but in a totally safe neurochemical space. The brain reprocesses the memory, but it works to strip away that intense emotional tone, that gut punch feeling associated with it. So you keep the information from the memory, you keep the lesson, but you lose the pain or the anxiety. It's really the difference between remembering a tough event and having to relive it. Okay, so how does this actually happen? Well, a key player is something called the theta oscillations. You can think of these brain waves as the beat or the rhythm that drives memory consolidation. And we know that during REM sleep, these theta waves are humming along in the hippocampus, helping to reactivate and file away all those emotional memories from the day. They're like the logistical workers in our overnight therapy session. And at the same time, we see these specific patterns of gamma activity. Think of this as a sign of the actual emotional work being done, the diffusing of the memory bomb, so to speak. What's happening on a chemical level is just amazing. During REM sleep, the brain is bathed in a state with super low levels of stress chemicals like noradrenaline. This means the stuff associated with anxiety and our fight or flight response is basically gone. This allows the brain to process difficult memories without that physical stress reaction, which leads to a calmer, less reactive amygdala the next day.
This whole system is obviously incredibly important for our mental health. And, one of the best ways to see how important something is to look at what happens when it breaks, when the brain's overnight therapist fails to show up for work.
And the most powerful clinical example of this is post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. One of the main hallmark symptoms of PTSD is having the exact same traumatic event replay over and over again in terrifying nightmares. This isn't just a bad dream. It's a sign that this whole emotional regulation system has completely failed. The brain is desperately trying to process the trauma, but it just can't strip away that emotional charge.
In fact, some research suggests that when the system is just overwhelmed by trauma, REM sleep can actually do the opposite of healing. Instead of diffusing the memory, it can amplify the fear response, making that connection between the memory and the terror even stronger. The system gets stuck in this awful, toxic loop, basically re-traumatizing the person night after night.
And this isn't just limited to PTSD. I mean, look at this chart. It shows how common frequent nightmares are. In the general population, it's around 5% of people. But look at patients with narcolepsy, a disorder that causes severe disruptions to the sleep-wake cycle. That number jumps to a staggering 33%, a third of patients. This really strong link between sleep disorders and nightmares just highlights how delicate and absolutely essential this emotional regulation process really is.
But, and this is a really hopeful but, the story doesn't end there. Understanding how this system works and how it can fail is opening up some incredible new ways to treat these problems. We are literally learning how to work with our dreams, to essentially hack our nightmares and take back our sleep. One of the most effective techniques is called imagery rehearsal treatment, or IRT. It's a simple but really powerful type of therapy, and the process is pretty straightforward. First, you write down the nightmare in as much detail as you can remember. Then, and this is the magic step, you consciously rewrite the dream. You change the story to something neutral, or maybe even something positive. And finally, you just spend a few minutes each day rehearsing this new, better dream in your mind. By doing this, you're literally giving your brain a new script to follow, teaching it how to resolve that dream in a healthier way when you're actually asleep. Another fascinating tool is something called lucid dreaming. This is that wild experience of realizing you're dreaming while you're still in the dream. For people who have recurrent nightmares, becoming lucid can be a total game changer. It gives you a sense of control. It allows the dreamer to actually confront the scary thing, or change the scenario, or, just fly away from it all. And here's where it all comes full circle. Remember that gamma activity we talked about earlier, that marker of emotional processing? While some absolutely incredible research has shown that by gently stimulating the brain with those same gamma band frequencies during REM sleep, it's actually possible to trigger lucid dreams. This hints at a future where we might use technology to directly help our brains do their therapeutic work at night. It's pretty amazing. So what's the big takeaway here? Let's boil it all down. We've seen that dreaming isn't just random brain noise. It's your own personal nightly therapist. By cranking up the emotional centers and turning down the logic, your brain creates this perfect, safe space to process tough memories and take the sting out of them. And even though this system can break down and lead to things like chronic nightmares, we're now learning how to work with it, using powerful tools to help our brains do their job even better. Which leaves us with one last really provocative thought to chew on. We've seen that dreams are our brain's way of sorting through our past, of healing yesterday's emotional wounds. So the big question for the future is this. If we can learn to consciously engage with and guide this incredibly powerful process, could we use our dreams not just to heal the past, but to actively build the person we want to become tomorrow? It really seems like our nightly therapy session may just be getting started.